Great. Joe, thank you for your help. Thanks to your crew. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the Bylaw forum. We were talking about what we should call this, and we keep coming up with different names. Is it a forum? Is it a hearing? Really, this is a conversation we want to have with the public and with the food establishment owners to get your feedback. And we have a quick presentation to give. You might have already seen it online. You may have gone through it already, but I'll kind of run through it just quickly. And then really we just want to engage with you to get your feedback, to answer questions you may have, and really to facilitate a conversation. Great. So today is October 25th. My name is Wayne Spritz. I'm the chair of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. On my left is Emily Westhoven. On my right is Kathy Mick. In the back is Alex Smullen, all members of the committee. So, as you probably were aware, this is weird, I feel like I've got a feedback hearing myself talk over the speaker. As everyone I think is aware, back in April of this year and in May in particular, the town meeting had, looked to an article that would ban plastics within all food establishments. It was, I think the intent was there. It was an amendment to the bylaw, to the straw ban bylaw, and the intent was well received. But upon our review of it, we felt that it really should be taken another look, a more comprehensive look, so that we could offer, and get public input from the establishments that are going to be affected. And also we wanted to go out to other communities who had tried to pass similar. And so we're going to talk about that tonight as well. So this new bylaw, and hopefully you've read it at this point. There were copies in the back if you didn't get a copy yet, and they're online for everybody at home that's watching. This is a comprehensive bylaw that will regulate the usage of plastic containers and servicewares used for customers in Swampscott food establishments. So the effort is based upon a community desire to really reduce the overall burden of plastics sent to landfill and incineration while boosting the overall content of recyclable and reusable materials. We did a comparative analysis with other Massachusetts communities. We feel that this proposal is a realistic attempt to balance the community needs, environmental health, and business operation requirements. So back in May, after the town meeting decided to indefinitely propose the previous article, we agreed that we would put together a study group. So since May, there was a group of us that got together almost weekly to discuss what a new bylaw would look like based upon going to other towns, looking up, really digging into the topic to get a better understanding of how it would affect the town and the business owners, as well as does it fit the goals of Swampscott. Most recently, why did I blank? Oh, sorry. So most recently, the committee met on September 27th, and we went through the bylaw. We went through all the comments, and the current draft that you see in your hands has been gone through. And so at this point, we're looking for additional, like I said again, sorry not to double up, but we're looking again for more feedback to be able to kind of finalize the end result to which. So here today, this is the 25th. We're looking for feedback. That feedback window closes on the 8th. We're going to then be accumulating all of that and putting together a final version of it to go to the select board, probably in their November 15th. Diane, I don't know if there's a meeting scheduled for the 15th. Yep. So we'll be on the 15th proposing the bylaw to them with the community feedback, and then it would then, at that point, be discussed, deliberated, and then be introduced to town meeting as an article on the warrant for the fall. So what are the differences? So what we really wanted to take is a narrower business food establishment definition So this is really for anyone that prepares food as opposed to bringing in prepackaged food. There is a more extensive listing of what constitutes food service, wares, and accessories. There's more specificity around the kinds of plastics prohibited and regulated. More specificity around the materials that can be used, such as the compostable, recyclable, and reusable. We have, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Skip the Stuff. It's kind of a new movement. Alex, if you can speak to that. You've become more familiar with Skip the Stuff, the history upon that. You can just talk right to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's really pretty simple, and it has been adopted in a variety of municipalities, and is also, there's a piece of legislation pending before the state legislature, and it refers to all of the things that get thrown into your bag when you go and get takeout. So, you know, even if you're going home, you get 3 times as many packets of plastic fork and napkin, et cetera. So this would make it so that you would only get those things upon request. And that can be done through the apps that you would order on, either from a service or the restaurant itself. That's more or less it.
Yep, thank you. The bylaw, the difference would also be the food establishments that serve prepared food provide recycling if the restaurant or the food establishment is actually is giving prepared food in single-use containers and they have in-house dining, the law would then require them to have recycling receptacles available. That's the difference from the prior. This provision gives the Board of Health to give exemptions, and whereas the prior law was relative to the straw bylaw, this is actually a separate, independent, standalone bylaw. So what are the key characteristics of the bylaw? One is that food establishments that offer single-use containers for takeout, leftovers, delivery, or other means for which the food or beverage will be consumed off premises shall provide a container constructed of materials as regulated in Section 5. And Section 5 of the bylaw is actually the material regulations. Applies only to prepared foods, not prepackaged foods sold by groceries or convenience stores. Food establishments must offer recycling options if they serve with single-use containers for on-premises consumption. Now, we're talking about Skip this stuff. So food establishments that offer single-use utensils and single-use condiment packets shall only provide such items upon request by customers or at a self-service station. That is a modified take away from both what the national trend is, but also what the Massachusetts House Bill 766 is actually requiring. And it's actually a little more stringent than what we were looking at. We felt this was a good compromise, the way we wrote it. A food establishment is an entity that prepares and provides food, right, or prepared food, or beverages for consumption either in its facility or for takeout to consume elsewhere. It's also defined as an operation defined under 105 CMR 590.001, which is the state sanitary code. Here's some pieces of public input we're looking for. Do you feel that this is clear? Do you feel that it should have some other definitive qualities to it? We're looking for input on that in terms of the definition of food establishment. So the committee spoke with other towns, and one of the things they found on, particularly to the towns that had more draconian level of bans, is that they were having a hard time enforcing it and actually were creating more exemptions than they were having an efficient, effective law within the community. One of the suggestions was that the Board of Health has the authority to provide such exemptions to a particular business, and we go into further detail about that in the bylaw. Hardship, The definitions would vary between the towns, and we're going to leave it particularly up to the Board of Health to decide on that. And other things of particular to exemptions are the pharmaceutical containers and other circumstances or situations unique to the food or retail establishment such that a compliance with the requirements would deprive a person of a legally protected right. So an example of that might be possibly a nursing home, right, that requires a particular type of cup or a particular type of container that they may have to use as a result because it's necessary for a particular person. So I think this is probably the key slide here, which is what is prohibited and what are we looking to actually regulate. So this bylaw would prohibit the use of polystyrene and expanded polystyrene, otherwise known as styrofoam. It would prohibit PVC, LDPE, and so polystyrene is, by the way, number 6, typically when you see it on the recycling triangle. PVC is number 3, LDPE is typically your thin film plastic bags, but can also be made, can be used to manufacture other materials, and that's usually number 4. Any plastic material in the color black, and any plastic material labeled as number 7, other, or generally not accepted for curbside recycling in the Commonwealth. Lastly, we felt particularly strong that containers intentionally adding perfluoro compounds, otherwise known as PFAS, and the family of fluorinated forever chemicals. We found them to be actually widely used in particular containers like paper they're very resistant against grease, and they hold up really well to heat, and resistant to water saturation. And unfortunately, they can leach into food. And there are 12 states already that have banned it outright. There is a bill in the House now that's being considered to ban it as well in all food products. We felt that if we're going to make some regulations here, that we definitely wanted to be inclusive of keeping PFAS out of containers. So number 1, PET, or it's also recognized as PETE. That is typically what you see in your water bottles. It's commonly used in takeout containers as well. It's typically very clear. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Most everybody here is coming from a food establishment. One of the concerns we had is that recent science, and it's actually been known for some time, is that PET could leach, particularly at high temperatures. It can leach antimony and other chemicals into the food itself. And so part of the bylaw is regulating that you should not serve hot foods in PET. And the other thing is that there's been some recent studies just this last year that have shown, in particular to PET, when it's recycled and the recycled content used, particularly for PET, it has contaminants that can leach into food. And so we're asking not to use what's called either you'll see it rPET or recycled PET compounds for plastic takeout containers. One of the things we just wanted to be clear is exempt would be thin film transparent plastic wraps. They would definitely be allowed, used to seal food, beverages, or the containers that carry them. Compostable. So we had some conversations with our industrial compost vendor, who's Black Earth, as everyone probably is aware of. I asked them, I said, what is necessary for you to be able to take a composted material, a container, and they said it needs to be certified by one of 3 agencies. And what those agencies do is they have third-party testing at the manufacturing level to make sure they don't have contaminants in them, including PFAS. And the 3 different agencies that actually do this are BPI, which is Biodegradable Products Institute. TUV is, I think it's pronounced TUV?
No, it's pronounced TÜV.
Hoof?
Actually has 2 dots on it.
It does have 2 dots, or a
does have
single
2
line
dots,
over it,
yeah,
yeah.
it does have
I believe it's an Austrian.
No, German.
Well, the ones I've seen say
I know.
Austria, but I thought it
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was Austrian. But
Yeah,
I believe they have 3 or 4 different sites in Europe that
yeah,
they
no,
test with.
it's an interesting organization, but it comes out of Germany, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So they have the OK Compost Industrial sign that would be attached to them. I've seen that by, some products here in the US, but I think it's probably more common in Europe. But if, for whatever reason, you have access to that, that would be perfectly acceptable. And the last is the stamp for the Compost Manufacturing Alliance. Like I said, each one of these are certified and independently certified and tested at the manufacturer level to be both free of contaminants, but also compostable, actually knowing that it will break down in the industrial compost process, which is different than the home compost process, by the way. So one of the last things that we wanted to put into the bylaw was a consumer advisory. And we talked with the Board of Health, and we came up with the wording as follows. So per guidance from the Swampscott Board of Health, to avoid the possible transfer of chemicals from plastic containers at cooking temperatures, it is not recommended to reheat food while in direct contact with plastic containers. Some of the insight we'd like from the folks in the food establishment businesses is, where's a good place that you feel would be well seen without putting a tremendous amount of additional burden on you? We were looking at ideas of, it could be on the menu, it could be on maybe on the final bill that's given with takeout, it could be on a sign, it could be if you print your own bags, or you print your own whatever it may be for your takeout, maybe on the next print run you can add it to that. Certainly would love some feedback in that particular case. So when we talk about temporary exemptions, so we're aware anytime you write a bylaw, it's really difficult to lock everything down. Things change. Materials change, the folks that actually run the sorting facilities that recycle our curbside materials, that can change, in the 5-year out picture. So we wanted to have some ability to make modifications. No one expected that we would have had a pandemic that, it put havoc into the supply chain. It put havoc into everyone's food establishment. It was obviously very clear. So, we're looking to have a way to have temporary exemptions, and so we felt that the Board of Health was the appropriate authorized committee to be able to make modifications as needed until such a time where, if it was needed past a certain period, that town meeting would be able to meet again and update the bylaws if so needed. Okay. So, some of the constructive feedback and questions that we're looking for, I can kind of throw out some ideas here. We're looking for, and we've done some initial research about what some of the cost differences could be, but we're looking for your feedback as well. There was an email that the committee received. I, as chair, took the email, and there was a question of whether or not there was a competitive impact from other towns that may or may not have said bylaw. Is there a feeling about delivery into Swampscott from the outside? Again, I brought this up, consumer advisory feedback as to how or where you could print it. And I know there's been some feedback already about easy to understand guidelines. Basically is, what can we use? You don't want to have to decipher this all day long. You just want to know what can I use and move on with life and business. We felt that this was a good balance, right, between what residents hope for. We're looking for feedback. Did we go far enough? Did we go too far? And did we miss anything in particular that you'd like to see us address? And so with that, I really just want to be able to engage a conversation. If you have comments, please, there's a microphone over here. This is being recorded and streaming, so if you can use the microphone, it can be picked up by our folks in the video booth. Please, any questions, concerns? We're here. Don't everybody jump up at once.
It's a lot to process.
If you can, or we can, or you know what, we can hand a mic to you.
Kathy, is there another printed copy of the bylaw in front of you there? Is there?
You want one?
Yeah, I'll take it.
State your name and,
Hi, Dr. Stephanie Neumann. I will have comments as they occur to me throughout this procedure. The first one that ran through my head was, what about ice cream trucks? I don't know if they're considered as you call, a food establishment. Another concern I had is the cost, and as well, people order food from outside Swampscott. It's delivered in containers that you want to prohibit. What do? I am completely behind you in this effort. I think it's fabulous. I wish there were material engineers coming up with new containers that are devoid of these poisons, because I remember when we first started getting microwave ovens at home, that if you reheat your food in the wrong container, it has a weird taste. Now, maybe that's coincidence. Maybe you don't taste the poisons that are that are extracted from the plastic container, but it really is a concern, particularly since cancer is growing so rapidly in so many areas of our bodies and in our society. But I just wanted to put those ideas for now out there, and I'm happy to hear what other people have to say in response.
thank you. Appreciate the feedback. I know we have the Girl Scouts here tonight. Okay. And so just for the audience, the Scouts came to the last Select Board meeting and made a great presentation. And I'll let them advocate for what they're looking for, but I was impressed that, in general, that the Girl Scouts have been taking a really active environmental approach, trying to keep the beaches clean. And is there anybody else while we're waiting for them? Are you guys ready? Oh, good.
Hi, I'm Sophia Armstrong, and this is Ainsley Miller, and we're from Girl Scout Troop 60103. We are 8th grade cadets working on our Silver Award, which is the highest award we can earn at our current level. In our project, we would like to curb the use of plastic utensils at our local ice cream shops that are right in front of our town beaches. Unfortunately, our oceanfront community sees the effects of trash overflow often at the beach, and this is the issue we're trying to correct, since the trash can go right into the ocean. We love the beaches in town. However, anyone who has strolled along the promenade at Kings Beach on a summer evening can attest that the trash bins are full. There is no place for trash to go except in the ocean. We are happy with the proposed bylaw. We just want to make sure prepared foods includes ice cream. In addition, we're planning to ask our local ice cream stores to donate the utensils they already have in stock so we can make art with it, along with the help of our town's elementary students, so we can educate the next generation about the importance of recycling and helping the planet.
The next thing that we would like to discuss is changing the trash bins in front of Kings Beach so they include composting abilities. We agree that this would prevent the overflow of trash bins by the ocean so trash doesn't end up in the water. Furthermore, we would like to request that the daily trash trucks pick up trash more often by the ocean from Memorial Day to Labor Day. This would definitely help out the problem as well by eliminating any overflow trash.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I just want to address your concerns about daily pickup. So that has been something that we regularly do talk about during our meetings. So one of the members of our committee is the director of the DPW, and I know they try to pick up daily. Sometimes it happens first thing in the morning versus the afternoon. So I know, unfortunately, by the evening they get totally full and they stay that way overnight. We have tried to address that, but we definitely appreciate your feedback and want to continue to be on top of that issue. So it's definitely been recognized, and certainly certainly want to appreciate the fact that we see it as well, and you're not alone in that concern. Anyone else? I know everyone came here with some concern. I'd love to hear talk to me about what you feel there could be a cost impact. Is there competitive issues? Do you feel that there's supply? Are you interested in learning more about composting in particular, or those types of materials? Anything? Got a thumbs up from the back.
Maybe anybody's saying it's not enough, maybe it's even too little at this time. Could be also.
Anybody online?
Wayne, when are we sort of taking feedback until, we have until the
The 8th.
15th to compile,
The
right?
8th.
The 8th, okay.
15th,
so-
we present back to the select
right.
board.
So if folks need to mull things over a little longer, they can always send an email to the committee.
Yeah.
too.
If you have
So
feedback
it's
and
not
you
your
want,
last chance to provide.
Kathy, talk to the mic. You need the microphone,
Mm-hmm.
so you're on.
Sorry.
Okay.
Not your last chance to provide feedback. You can always email the committee as well. But we'll stay here for the next
Yeah.
while.
So we have some restaurant, I don't know if are you the proprietors, are you the managers? Feel free to, we'd love to hear your feedback.
My name is Bruce Paradise, I own the Paradiso.
Okay, hi.
Business is Swampscott with the Paradiso.
Can we give you the microphone?
So it's recorded, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't get picked up on the video.
Can you hear me now? Okay, so Bruce Paradise, Paradiso. I've owned the property and the restaurant here for 37 years now. So I understand the concerns, and I'm all for all the recycling and everything that you guys are doing, and I think it's great. My thing is just, what do we use if you're restricting us to a certain single use or whatever kind of containers that we can send for takeout? What I'm using right now is something we've been using since COVID. It's recyclable and reusable. It's dishwasher safe.
Is it polypropylene, number 5?
I don't know. I mean, again, I just printed this today. I own the property. I have managers that run it.
Yeah.
I'm involved daily, and I pay attention, but I don't know exactly until
Right.
yesterday, what
Right.
what the material is. So,
So let's go back and talk about the materials, because I think maybe that might be a good kind of really helpful conversation. So one of the things we're trying to get rid of is black plastic, and everyone asks, well, why is black plastic so uniquely specific? So the sorting facility that is most widely used on the North Shore is Republic's owned Greenworks facility. It's in Danvers, up on Route 1. You've probably passed it 10 million times going up north. It's on the right side. It's got those big, almost airplane-sized hangared, sitting right on the east side of Route 1. Like I said, probably passed it a million times. You see trash trucks coming in and out of there. And so inside that facility, they take our mixed recycling and they go through machines, and it gets sorted by men and women at the start, where they're taking out stuff that's clearly contaminants, and then it goes into other more sophisticated machines, and they separate the metal and the glass and the paper, and then it comes down to the plastics. When it goes through the plastics line, there's an optical sorter that sits there and tries to figure out, is this number 1, number 2, number 5, number whatever it is. Unfortunately, those optical readers can't determine black. They can't see it. And so any black plastic, unfortunately, that goes into the recycling stream ends up going to landfill or incineration. So one of the biggest suppliers of black plastic happens to be those takeout containers. So we feel that, if we have 90 different organizations between the individual restaurants to
Stop and Shop.
Between that, Stop and Shop, the groceries who are doing prepared food, to the dining halls in the churches and synagogues, to food trucks, right? Even ice cream trucks. We feel that we can make an impact. And really, it's bringing a tremendous amount of awareness to it. And to us, it seems like such a kind of a simple thing that instead of black, you can use white or clear. And it shouldn't be that big of a change or a cost differentiation, but it will make a difference in terms of recycling the material. There was one, what else was I going to say? What you can use. One of the things, and we were talking about with someone in the restaurant industry in the last couple of days, which is, can you use aluminum, right, for takeout in particular? I'd love to hear your feedback in terms of what choices and why are the choices that you make for certain containers? Is there an aesthetic issue? Is it a functional issue? Is it a cost issue?
If you were in the restaurant business, or if you were involved at all ever in the restaurant business, to have takeout containers, they have to stack. They can't leak. Okay? So if you've got plastic, and the ones we're using, and they do come in white, and I don't know if that makes a difference in that material. You can't stack aluminum foil with a paper cover. You can't stack plastic covers on top of aluminum foil. You can't stack cardboard. So what do you put? One package in each bag, so now you've got waste there. And again, spillage is tremendous. Someone puts it in their car and it spills all over their car, what happens then? Again, I'm not
I gotcha.
not trying to create the wheel here, but I'm just saying that there's a lot to do with why we're using these containers. Okay?
Understood.
This is the only container that you can stack in a bag, that
And it seals.
won't spill. And it'll take anything, whether it's sauce from pasta or gravy or anything else, any kind of liquid. You can even put soup in it, but you can't do it in cardboard or aluminum foil. You can't do that. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
So,
Understood. No, thank you for that.
again, this is just from years of doing this, so.
Yep. Understood.
But again, the containers that we are using, mostly we use black right now. They do have them in white with the clear plastic tops. Again, they're recyclable, reusable, dishwasher safe, microwave safe.
Yeah. So here, I'll tell you, to be frank and transparent, one of the challenges we had with the open question is, well, what do we allow, right? And so number ones and number twos are very, very recyclable within both our sorting facility that Republic runs, as well as nationwide. One of the materials that is less recyclable is number 5 polypropylene, which is probably what you're using. One of the reasons we didn't ban it or prohibit it is because we know that it is highly reusable, as dishwasher safe, right? I know we reuse all of them when we get them at home as well for school lunches and everything that we can possibly use it for, because we don't want to throw it away. I would ask that in terms of just being conscious about currently, with the current vendor that we're using, they're not recycling it, which is frustrating. It's frustrating for the town, but that's another level to which our committee is looking at trying to engage with the vendor to get them to start recycling, as well as the other towns that have just the same concerns as we do in Swampscott. So.
Did the hand in the back?
Okay. Can you get on the microphone, though? Bruce, did I answer your?
You did. I've got other questions, but yeah. I mean, my questions are, if we can't use these, what do we use? I mean, again, I've gone through the list of what you can't use because it doesn't work.
So if you continue to use what you're using, but you don't do it in black?
They do make them in white, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes a
And
difference.
the lids, just to make sure that the lids are in number 1 or number 2 or
Or they're clear. I don't know. Again,
Yeah.
I've done enough research to see what,
just not number 6.
again, this is,
It's just, so this is raising awareness, right?
Right.
We're hoping that our food establishments can start taking an initiative to actually look and see what it is that they're.
well, we all know since COVID, takeout is huge, okay? So if you prohibit it or you make it difficult where we can't do takeout, then what happens?
Right.
And again, I understand, and again, the goals are great here, but, you know, it seems like the restaurants, again, we're trying to bring restaurants into Swampscott, which I love. So by doing this, I mean, I don't know, prohibits a lot of income.
So what is it, can you be specific as to what you think it might prohibit? Is there something specific that you
Well,
would
again,
like to see?
if you can't stack things, if you can't put them in a bag and stack them, if they leak, or you know them, because, you know, people, they pay attention to everything, and then we see it on
Right.
Facebook. If,
So we're not advocating removing all plastics, we're just saying certain plastics,
okay,
right? So the ones, the twos, and the fives, we're leaving as, and those are common, those are generally what you're already using.
yep,
So so one of the criteria of that is to say, just please don't use black, right? And the other piece of this is that if you are serving single-use containers for in-house dining, that you offer recycling just as you would trash.
I don't, know, inside dining's all on plates for us.
Right.
Okay, so everything is just as only takeout,
Understood.
so
So I don't see it really too much affecting you other than,
we wouldn't be affected. And again, I thought there'd be more people, the restaurant business here, I'm surprised that, you know.
Yeah.
Can
I
I
don't know who
cut
else is
in?
here, but I'm very surprised.
I have a clarifying question for you. So, what I'm hearing, or I might have missed it, so you're saying, well, obviously we're not going to use black plastic because it's really harmful to the environment and, like, the scanners can't clarify it, detect it, and it ends up in landfills. But I know you said that it might not, it's like the white plastic, or I'm not sure if you're talking about the aluminum being hard to like stack, but I don't understand why you can't just switch over to the white plastic, because you said your containers do come in the white plastic, not the black plastic, so I don't understand why it wouldn't be such an issue for you to change over.
This is the first I'm hearing about white plastic. I mean, again, I knew that white plastic was available. This is the first I'm hearing that the black and the white's better. I'd have no problem switching to white,
anything not black.
not black.
Yeah.
If it's, you know,
White,
again, I got a
clear,
little more
it's all good.
research. I can't say that, you know, as far as I know, it's sold by the same company. They
Yeah.
offer black and white. Are they more available? Are they restricted? I don't know that. The right sizes, all that. I have to look into it a little bit more.
Okay.
I'd have no problem switching to white, even if it was more costly. But again, I have to do a little more research on that.
So a couple, one particular person that was helpful, she ended up helping me look up some things within the wholesale, supply chain, and she was showing that it was effectively exactly the same. So that was the quick point of feedback for us, but I'm definitely willing to hear additional feedback if you have it, from a cost perspective.
Again, it's pennies, and again, if it works and it's making the environment safer and better, and I'm all for that, and maybe, I'm sure everybody else would be too.
And so Bruce, the only other piece of that would be is if you're using the number 1 plastic or the PET, just don't serve hot food in it.
Okay, well, now you gotta sit down with me and hold my hand on that. I mean,
Okay.
1 through 6, or 1 and 6,
So, yeah, so the number 5 I think you're referring to as a little more bendable.
this is pretty rigid, so I don't know if that
It's
makes.
rigid, but the number 1 plastic is typically the type of plastic that's given in your plastic bottles.
Okay, that's not what we're using, nope.
Okay. It's really commonly used when you're doing like sandwiches or cold foods. We're just trying to make sure that you don't put hot foods in it.
I know they're rigid covers, and they're not like a plastic bottle, no.
Okay.
Can I ask a question too for Bruce?
Sure.
Do you also use different sizes in your
Sizes?
sizes? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, we use smaller sizes for smaller portions, and larger sizes for the full dinners. For salads, you're saying aluminum foil works?
It's an option, and it's
Okay.
also extremely recyclable,
Which we
too.
do, with a salad, we'll put in an aluminum foil with a paper cover, because it's light, so we can
Right.
stack those. They're not heavy, not pushing down on each other, so we do use aluminum. We don't use any styrofoam.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I think that, I think from my perspective, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think in the end, we do want to reduce, right, also. So if there are smaller sizes, or maybe if, for example, if for those that are in the restaurants and they want to take something home, they may not need that totally spill-proof container. They may
And
just be a tiny,
100%. Any leftovers do not go in these
exactly,
expensive
which is great.
hard plastic containers. They go in the aluminum foil with a paper cover, because they're
Exactly.
only taking home one thing.
Right.
Maybe they're carrying it, not even going in a bag.
Right.
So that's a whole different world, yeah.
Exactly, but,
Okay.
and that makes sort of sense. So, 'cause I think too, as a customer myself, you know, I'm frustrated if I go somewhere and I get like a teeny little thing and, you know, in a large
The container to
container,
go,
'cause
right.
it's not necessary,
Wasteful.
right? So, being a little more detailed about what can be used
Yep.
and so forth, I think that makes sense. Because in the end, we do want to reduce too.
So do you guys, is anybody here that does catering as well?
Do what?
Catering,
We do not.
okay. Just curious to get some feedback from the caterers as well, because they'll come into town, obviously they're gonna be, the bylaw will apply to them as well as to what they're serving, and I'm just curious to get some feedback as well. Okay,
You know, you go to Whole Foods, you can do salads in a cardboard container. But again, they're carrying one
Right.
container out of the store.
Yes.
They're not stacking 6 containers in a bag. And again, nothing else works. Nothing else works.
yeah, I understand. No, it's a town of Swampscott bylaw, yeah.
So we are the only town in Swan.
I think she needs a microphone. Yeah. so I'll give you one. I know, it's just one of those that everyone wants to be able to hear.
So I just asked if this includes Nahant as well as Swampscott. I was told it does not, but there was something recently on one of the Facebook pages about somebody saying thank you to a caterer in Nahant, that they had provided catering. And so that's why I was asking if it had included Nahant, but you said it doesn't, so.
So we can try to sort this out, but it is our understanding that anybody that is bringing food and having to serve food has to have the license authority through the Director of Public Health, right? So any notice for a permit to do so would, this mention of this bylaw would be included. It's probably a good idea that we have some ability to advertise and/or promote. I'm looking to you guys.
Oh,
To come up with some ability to advertise this and promote this to caterers that may come into Swampscott as well, so they're aware of it. Just to take down as a note.
I see we have a question, but also I'm wondering if I can see the names of the other 2 people. We want to ask them to put their information in the chat. Can they?
Yeah, if they want
I
to,
mean, we
yeah.
took attendance
Yeah.
of who's here. It'd be nice to
So-
know who's online, who's on the.
You want to, so Eric Schneider has a question? Hi, Eric.
Hi.
We can hear you.
I had two,
I feel like Frasier. You're on.
yeah, two
Hi,
questions.
Go ahead.
One was,
Uh-oh, now we can't hear. Hold on, Eric. Hold on. Hold on a second. Try again.
can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
One was grocery stores. So when their foods that they prepare and sell, to customers in the grocery store, does the bylaw apply to those containers?
Oh, grocery stores, yeah.
Yes, if it's prepared food, then yes. So in other words,
Because
if there's a baked item, let's say, and it's packaged on site, yes. If there is prepared food like chicken or any of the other things that are made on site, yes, it would. If it's coming in, if it's coming in prepackaged from a central location out of Swampscott, then no.
Okay. And then what about like to-go cups and drinks? I know, there was some reference in the bylaws to hot beverages. So if you go to any of the coffee places or Dunkin' Donuts or,
Yep.
any more, are those cups included? Are they prohibited? How does that work?
So
Because there's plastic in those too, right?
Yes,
What was the last?
there's plastic in them,
Yes.
like the
So,
coffee cups. They're
right, so
plastic.
what we would be eliminating, so the particular materials that would probably apply to hot beverages would, for one, styrofoam, because that's a common one for hot beverages, as well as cold beverages, we know. So the number one, as in like PET, that particular material, we would not want you to put hot beverages in a PET container. Generally, you'd be using a paper container anyways.
Yeah, but even the paper ones that you get now, they're lined, right? I mean,
Yes.
is it wax or is it plastic?
It's wax.
Plastic.
Well, it's a
There's a plastic liner inside,
yes.
So in between the paper, actually, you have to kind of shave it off, and then you can actually get to the plastic.
It is a polymer,
inside
yeah.
Yeah.
It is a polymer, correct.
And so are those cups now permitted
Yes,
under the bylaw or
yes.
not?
They would not be, they
Yes.
would not be affected, and perhaps this feedback is mentioned to us that we should probably clarify that. We can add some clarifying language if that's a question.
Yes, because sadly, they're not recyclable.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you in a particular food establishment?
No,
Okay,
I'm a town meeting member.
okay.
So just was wondering,
No, that's
interested.
great.
That's all I had. Thanks for
I took note of your
all the work.
concern. No, thank you. Appreciate your feedback.
In the bylaw, would styrofoam be included?
It would be prohibited,
Oh, okay.
yes.
I'm asking because I know Tropical Smoothie typically uses styrofoam.
Yeah, yeah. So we understand that, and this kind of came out early in the beginning of our research, which is there may be certain establishments that are franchises that have requirements for certain particular containers. They may be ordering them en masse. So for, I don't want to name any particular franchise, but if you have to use a styrofoam plastic or a styrofoam cup with the name of your franchise on it, we want to know more. We want to be able to talk to you about that. And you mentioned Tropical Smoothie. We've not heard back from them, but we can certainly reach out to them directly and ask how they may be affected by this. I mean, I'll tell you this, we are by far not the first community to ban styrofoam. In fact, Salem just did it this last year, and I asked for feedback from them, and basically they have not had any, at least reported issues or complaints from food establishments. And that was coming directly from both their chair of their solid waste committee as well as the recycling coordinator. And from their she also checked with the director of public health. So,
Styrofoam is basically a useless container to go anyway. Again, it gets soft, it
Yeah.
doesn't stack, it's only a cost savings.
yeah,
It's so cheap.
it's just so cheap,
Just
yeah.
too cheap, yeah.
Yeah, and it's 99% air. Except it takes a ton of volume and it breaks down really,
Right.
really, like too easily. It breaks down into all sorts of different other elements. So,
Have you researched materials used in Europe for takeout or whatnot?
not focused particularly on that. Do you have a specific thought?
Focused on cleaning up their act for a long
Oh, yes, definitely. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah, we actually do.
We got extra microphones.
We do have extra microphones.
I'm just wondering, and you answered the question, but I'll repeat it. Europe has been researching how to clean up pollution, I think, far longer in regard to this type of stuff than America has. So I was wondering if in your research as to what types of materials are currently used locally, if you have researched what's going on in Europe, what materials they're using, so that you could perhaps suggest to restaurateurs alternative materials and that do degrade or are not poisonous or toxic, whatever. That's a whole separate effort on your part. I realize, but I was just curious.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I know that the European Union, in particular, as a whole, has taken some leading efforts on the subject of very broadly environmental regulatory laws that, whether it be plastics or composting or trash or reuse, they're far advanced from generally within the United States. Now, what we really looked at was the supply chain, right? We tried to find something that was realistic, that we knew that if we banned all plastics, what you're left with is potentially just going to add to the trash side. And one of our motivations, right, is, and the state has asked every community to reduce their trash load, their municipal solid waste, by 30% by 2030. That's a big ask, right? And so a part of that is diversion. So are we diverting or adding to the waste stream? We're trying to divert from it. So if we're saying, we're going to eliminate all plastics, but we don't have other options, it's hurtful to business, but it's also, we felt that if you have a way to divert it, it should be allowed. So the 1s, 2s, and 5s, the 1s and 2s as a priority, the number 5s if you need it, because we felt that it was also reusable, they're allowed. And it's really not that much of a change, but we are trying to then be particular about how we're using plastics, giving some consumer warnings about how they're using plastics that they may or may not have thought about. And then, trying to work with what we have. And that's kind of what it comes down to. Yeah, please.
If I can say a little bit to the European
absolutely.
angle. I don't know specifically about products that are being used. I can only speak to that in some countries there's just a little different culture, whereas there's a lot more demand from consumer side that plastic is being less used. And so anybody who is actually using a lot of plastics is in a sort of very bad, has a very bad reputation. So there's a lot more, from the population side that actually want to reduce it too. So, and there's a lot more redeemable, right? Sort of returnable, redeemable, reusable, as opposed to just trying to make something recyclable and it's still just a, one-time use, right? So I think that culture is a lot more there than it is here, where it's sort of not. Here is just, you can produce as much as you want, you should be able to produce as much and waste as much as you want. And I can say everybody who's been over there and comes back, or the opposite, visitors here cannot believe the amount of plastic being used and sort of single serve use items every day. Where it's avoidable in some instances, right? Takeout is different, but where it's avoidable.
For the folks really owning the businesses and working with them on a day in, day out basis, do you see any possible future use for reusable containers, something that you could take back, or having people come in with their own containers that you could put stuff in? Just throwing it out there.
No.
Okay.
They call it in early, they want to pick it up hot. They're not going to wait for you to fill their container.
Okay.
No, I think it would be different. I think it would be sort of a system, like a deposit system. So, for example, it would be only for residents, right, who would sort of be, using your restaurant, maybe on a regular time. And so they would have a container that they would maybe pay a deposit on while taking it home. And then the next time they order something, they would return it. And they would either get their deposit back or they would order something new, and so then they get another container with it. So that type of system, right? They would not come with their own, the containers to fill it. I think that would be too complicated, because you do want to have something stackable and that would be, similar in size and so forth. So it would be a system more where, these things go in and out and are reusable, and either on a deposit base or, you bring it back.
I don't see it happening, but okay. I mean, just the storage, where do you store all this? Paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Cleaning it, it doesn't come in clean, it's gonna be cleaned. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, so.
It's definitely happening in Europe,
I understand where you're
that's for
going
sure.
with it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's you know, that type of system is definitely happening in Europe, but I think there's also more, you know, dishwashers. I mean, you know, you just have your reusable.
I just came back,
things and
I
so
was
forth.
2 weeks in Italy, and there was the same kind of containers, plastic
Right.
containers with lids being used there. We did a lot of
for
takeout.
Yeah.
And we didn't eat in our Airbnb, and it would be the same thing. We
Huh.
call it in, we get delivered in plastic containers. They don't do so much takeout as far as, if you went into a restaurant, they don't give you your leftovers. They discourage that. But they say it because they don't want, it tastes better in the restaurant than it does when you take it home.
Okay, what's that last part?
That's the Italians, you know, so they're saying that it doesn't taste as well
Right.
over than
Oh.
it does when you're eating it right there. So they discourage the leftovers being taken out of the restaurants, yeah.
Gotcha.
That's true.
So I will say, one of the things I think I also neglected to mention is that this would also apply to the schools, right? And, you know, the schools serve 1,000-something meals a day, right? And they serve it in a variety of different types of trays and clamshell boxes. And so we're going to hold our own schools accountable to this as well. We think that'll make an impact as well. What's impressive, actually, between the middle school and the high school is that if you notice when you leave, there's actually compost bins here, and the school is doing a really impressive job at composting and recycling.
To touch on the fact that you.
Talk a little loud. Can you talk a little louder?
Oh, hi. To touch on the fact that you just talked about the schools. So, personally, I don't go to a school. I don't go to SMS, the Swampscott Public Middle School. I go to a school in Manchester, and my school, the food is like it's within the tuition, and they have like a lunch line, and you have like a plate that it's reusable, and forks and knives, they're metal. And what we do at lunchtime is most kids get lunch there, and we'll wait in line, and they'll give you a plastic plate that's reusable, and then you'll go over and get metal knives and forks and whatever utensils you need. And then when you're finished, you scrape the extras into the compost, and then separate where the forks go and the knife and the
Right.
plates go. So I feel like that would be a lot easier to do than using the.
Yeah. So one of the challenges that they have at this school, as well as the new elementary school, is that they don't have a dishwashing capability.
Mind-boggling.
They don't have what?
Yeah.
There's no dishwashing capability. What's that? Yeah.
It's hard to believe that we're building a brand-new elementary school and we're not providing that service. I
Yep.
know gosh, I've lived in Massachusetts over 20 years now, and when I grew up on Long Island, one of the changes my church made, it had to be in the early 80s, was they put in a commercial dishwasher because they were serving meals in the evening, like as a community thing. And that dishwasher would finish in like 7 or 8 minutes. So if you think that they can't be able to provide that here or in the schools, it seems.
So I'm definitely an advocate. I'm definitely an advocate for it. There is, and it was something we actually brought up with our own schools, and we had some public discussion about it 2 years ago or so. Emily, do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a better
Way
memory
back
than I,
before
but,
the-
but we definitely brought it up, and we're disappointed that because of, I think it had something to do with kitchen size and also the operational costs, that we're still going to be using single-use containers at the elementary school. It is.
Financially, you're going backwards.
I understand.
So this is basically all cost savings, that's why they don't do it. They don't want to spend the money.
Well, it was a space issue, is my understanding to the counter argument. And it was by the time we brought up the suggestion, it was already in the plans and too late.
Okay. It can't be the amount of space. I mean, the schools are tremendous in size.
The kitchen
Dishwashing
size in
facilities
particular.
can't be that difficult. I understand maybe staffing it would be difficult, but,
Yeah.
you know, so basically, the town, the schools can do, you know, avoid that. And I understand you're trying to make the restaurants better or safer or,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make, why, you know, why do the schools get a free, you know?
Well, it's actually does, you know,
They still have to go by this
they still have to,
bylaw.
they have to go by the bylaw.
Yeah.
They have to go by the bylaw,
We're-
but
Schools do?
Oh, yeah,
do,
yeah, yeah.
they
And they
do.
don't have, but then they're using containers that are being thrown away? The plastic or the trays, I mean, again.
Or
when I was with
compostable,
the schools,
or compostable, yeah.
You know, we had a tray, we had a plate, we had forks and knives, and nothing got thrown away. I mean,
exactly.
you know,
That's-
we were even drinking out of milk cartons, I think, back then, but,
Yeah, Swampscott School
Absolutely.
District only has single-use containers, unfortunately. It's,
It's,
so why, you know, why not start with the schools and then go to the businesses that are trying to make a living to pay the taxes to support the schools?
so everyone's being held to the same bylaw.
I understand
Right.
that.
It becomes a question of the operation of the school district, to which we're not privy to in this particular committee. You know, I think we all have some opinions about that here. And we believe that it would certainly, we would be better off environmentally as well, I think, cost-wise. That would be the question, right? Does it make sense? But that kind of goes outside of our purview here particularly, but they would be held to the same bylaw, in particular in terms of what they're using. So no styrofoam, right? For one, that's a big issue, because for a while they were doing that. So, and preferably, and this is the movement across the school districts in Massachusetts as a whole, going to compostable types of containers. And we do compost here at the high school
And the middle school. And the middle school.
and the middle school. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
but I agree, but I mean, Wayne, I didn't know it was sort of set in stone, that this is not going to be, is it set in stone? that
Oh,
it
yeah,
will
this,
not
the
go?
The school's
school was built, the school was bid and is being built.
And they cannot add a
correct.
dishwasher and,
Correct.
that seems completely.
Maybe this is
I don't
something
know.
for us to weigh in on.
But
with
I'd
the
understand
school
why. I mean, they
committee.
can't probably even staff it. Even if they had the facility, they can't
Right.
staff it.
I mean,
So-
obviously, they have a food service provider, it's not the town
I'll
that does
take,
this,
I'll,
but-
We will take this message.
Yeah.
we're getting the message, let's put it this way. And,
Yeah.
and knowing that we have further support from the community is helpful to then be able to go to the school committee and saying, listen, there's a concerned group of citizens and residents in the town, and as a representative of them, we'd like to express this recommendation, and we're happy to do that. Any other questions? Sorry, we kind of went on a bit of a tangent, but it's okay.
No, it's part of it.
Financially, it's ludicrous to me. Financially.
I-
It's an ongoing cost.
Yeah.
That can be eliminated.
No, Leanne, I hear you. But, and
Still too cheap, styrofoam and
Oh,
the,
no, the trays are recyclable,
yeah,
I mean compostable.
compostable, yeah.
It's still an ongoing cost.
Yeah.
We're trying to reduce costs
Again, that's,
to our taxpayers.
I would welcome you to come and do public comment at the school committee,
I will.
for sure.
I most certainly will.
Anybody else who hasn't talked, please, we just want you to feel comfortable and invite you to join the conversation. You guys have any questions in the back? No? Oh, thank you. Okay. Anything you want to add in the back? No, I'm good, thank you. Sure.
all right,
Okay,
All right.
well,
there's nobody
So,
else
you know,
in line,
I
right?
want to just one more thing. I'm all happy that this is all happening, but until there's some other product that we can use, and again, and I'll look into the white containers.
Okay.
But, I mean, you can't stop takeout, so,
no.
Yeah, no, we
No one
don't
wants
want
to.
Not coming
No
up
one
with
wants
something
to.
else.
We don't want to.
Yeah,
I need my takeout.
I mean,
Yeah.
takeout is a big percentage of a lot of businesses. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Sure, Yeah.
And that's the, Bruce, that's the function of why we're here, is we want to make sure we get the message out that that's
Yeah.
not.
I mean,
Not the
you rent
intention.
Plastic straws, which is great, I mean, it's easy, we don't give out plastic knives, forks with our meals or
Right.
any of that, and I understand that it should be asked instead of, I mean, you go to a sandwich shop and you get 12 forks with your sandwich.
And
I know,
16 packs of
why?
duck sauce that you
Right.
will never use.
And
I
about this
agree,
pack
they're
of
just throwing it, they're
napkins.
throwing it in a bag, so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I would imagine that the food establishments would welcome,
But they're the ones doing it, you don't even ask, you just
but
open your bag. and it's-
bringing the awareness of the situation, right? It's a net benefit in terms of cost, right? That you're not offering 16 packs of duck sauce in every to-go container, or salsa, or whatever, ketchups, right? So, in fact, what's interesting is what I've noticed, and we actually did look around in terms of like the Grubhub and Uber Eats, that it is, I believe there's a checkoff. Do you, as a menu item?
There,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you need utensils or whatever
Yeah.
extras you want? It's not just assumed to be provided. So,
That's what we do on our side, should we ask if they do, generally fits in the home, they have
Right.
no utensils.
right,
Right.
right. The collection of supply that I have of plastic forks and spoons in my household is ridiculous.
I
And
know,
there's-
because I can't throw it out either.
Yeah, and so we try to use them, but at the end of the day, they just go to the trash.
Or you get a drawer full of like.
I do have that too, because I cannot throw it out.
So let me, outside of the bylaw, let me just I'd love to get some input while we have everybody here. And one of those questions is, are you aware that Massachusetts requires the diversion of food waste if you have more than 1,000 pounds of food waste in a week, per week? Are you guys aware of that regulation?
What do you mean by diversion?
So,
Not into trash.
right, so not into the municipal solid waste stream, into trash. So 25 to 30% of landfill waste is organics. And so the Commonwealth and the Department of Environmental Protection made a ruling that effective last November, if a facility, right, collectively produces more than 1,000 pounds of food waste, then it needs to be diverted. Now, how you divert it is up to you, but it should not go into the
Landfill.
main municipal solid waste stream. So my question is how hard is that 1,000 pounds to get to? So if you're operating 7 days a week, that's 140-something pounds a day, and that doesn't seem to be, it seems, depending upon the size of your organization, that seems to be, you could be there. And so, is there an interest in composting? Are there any questions about how you might be able to start composting? And that could be everything from clearing the plates, right, to the extras that you're using in the kitchen as well. Do you feel that would be an option for your own companies? Are you doing it now? Or have you thought about it? And just kind of get
I
some
guess you
feedback.
gotta make your food more tasty and they eat it all, so there's no waste, right?
Love it.
I mean, I don't know. I never leave anything on my plate.
Okay.
I still can't get my
neither do I.
kids to eat
So
potato.
I think, and we talked about that, for me, this is more regarding food prep, right? And things that are, you sort of have in the food prep that, whether that's skins or, anything that is there and that should go into composting as opposed to leftovers on the plate.
But then you gotta have the room for the composting on your property.
Sure.
What restaurant on Humphrey Street's gonna have room for composting? I know I don't have it, but, and I'm not on Humphrey Street, so.
So what about the, towns that require, or that have like Cambridge, I think has now, doesn't Cambridge have like a citywide, Black Earth or one of the other providers? So everybody has basically a receptacle.
There's a receptacle that would
bin.
get picked up the same way that your trash would be on a,
So you're gonna go back to a separate something separate to put your garbage in, I guess you wanna
Sure.
call it.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely, yeah.
someone's gonna take that to a dump. I mean, years ago, we growing up, they were the ones buried in the ground. You know, I don't know if you remember that, but,
Right.
you know, everybody has
I mean,
their
they would be
home.
picked up,
But you can't, I mean, then it smells, then you get rats, you got,
So,
Rodents?
so there's really no difference than would you be throwing it away, or does it go down the garbage disposal? I don't know how your
Right.
particular restaurant manages.
so what's better, the disposal?
So there's some science that needs to be kind of understood, but once it does go down the disposal, it gets then treated the same down the line. So it does eventually go to some sort of treatment and composting, eventually. So it's just a question of, do you want to take it before it goes down the drain? Or do something with it that goes to an aerated composting? There's different types of composting. So we
Again,
can
if
get
you
to
don't
the
have the
weeds
room
of
for
the
that,
science.
you don't have the room to store it overnight, even overnight, never mind
So
a couple days.
Where is it going now?
right.
At my restaurant?
Yeah.
I see very little waste. We keep our portions, to a size where I see or I hear there's very little waste going
Okay.
in the disposal or in trash.
So, but I mean,
Is
is
there
that,
rolls and things like that, items that possibly, but I don't see the main meal or salads going, again, I guess it's portion control, what you're serving.
yeah, no, so as I said, I'm sort of more on the kitchen side as you prepare, right? And there are, scraps and things that, you obviously don't go into the meal, right? From salads and, other things. So what do you do with that? Where does that go?
I want to say we're in a disposal. Again, we're limited on where we can store our trash. We get it picked up 7 days a week or 5 to 6 days a week. And there's no room or even to have someone, we'd have to store it separate. It's a struggle to even get the trash picked up, never mind garbage.
All right.
No, Bruce, I appreciate the feedback. And one of the things that we've talked about as a committee is trying to get more familiar with the commercial entities and the commercial, waste stream issues that you guys have. And so part of asking these questions is to get some better information for us to be able to partner with you to help, as well as kind of complete our mission as a whole.
So you're saying your trash gets picked up 5 times a week?
Every night.
Every night?
Every morning, early morning, yes.
Every morning?
We get in a dumpster, we wheel it out, it's got a cover on it, it gets picked up daily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But again, no one's gonna pick up, I've never seen a trash truck or rubbish truck in many years that picks up garbage, food waste.
Oh, yeah, I mean, those are.
Organics,
Those are
particularly.
specific
Organics.
services.
Yeah, it's a
Those are
particular-
specific
But again, when do
services.
they, they're gonna pay them, have them pick them up 5 days a week, and, where do you store it overnight?
So the question could be, let me just throw this out as just a thought experiment. The stuff that you're worried about that needs to get picked up is generally the stuff that's gonna attract pests, right?
What's
You don't
that?
want that sitting out. The stuff,
No, again, we probably, mostly what we do is for the disposal, yes.
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right. This is a conversation that we're,
I'll just add to that. So we went to visit my aunt and uncle who live in Surrey, Canada, which is just below Vancouver. And their municipality actually requires everyone to recycle their compostable food. And they actually go around and check that you are putting your food waste in a separate bin. And it's because they actually use it for their city buses. It actually is fuel for their city buses. So it's like a twofold, right? You're collecting their waste and you're using it for the greater good.
Right.
Obviously, that's a whole huge, commitment
Yeah.
and new buses. But I'm just saying there are other ways to get rid of it.
yeah, you're giving an example of other
And again,
places that have done
another
it.
country, not ours.
It's okay.
It's unfortunate,
All
but
right.
yeah,
Well, like I said,
there are other ways.
happy to engage with you guys further.
I think also that as a consumer in a home, we do some composting. I have a container that I do, but I don't honestly want to pay $30 extra a month or whatever it is for Black Earth when I should just be able to do it myself. If the municipality paid for it and did it, I'd be
So
happy to.
are you aware that we have two major sites in town for free composting?
Yeah, so right now I'm just keeping it for myself, and as it
Okay.
composts down, I put it in my garden at the end of the year and put cardboard on it and, put it back into the earth. But I think that would be good if people knew about that. I don't know that that's widely known.
Okay, well, I mean, if there's no other, unless there's any other questions or concerns, great. So, you guys have anything else that you want to add to the conversation?
No, I just think I would remind people that there is still opportunity to provide feedback until November 8th.
And how? So that the best way was via email, right? Wayne, would that be your email?
Right there. Swac1, SWAC1 at swampscottma.gov. Please feel free to reach out if you want to leave a phone number. It might not be, but it would be in the, if you received the letter, it would be
Yeah, you
in the letter and all the announcements. The SWAC1,
Take it down.
Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and that's the chairman's email. Well, hopefully, we've definitely gotten some good information out of this. Hopefully you have as well. Just want to really thank you for coming out tonight. Truly,
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, looking forward to engaging particularly with the business community more in the next year. We can, unless there's anything else, we can adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Toes and an Oreo.